Modern culture has told men a very particular story. Be softer. Be more vulnerable. Be open. Available. Expressive. Give without limit. Share every emotion. Reveal every thought. Hold nothing back. That's the message men hear again and again. And yet, what no one tells him is that the moment he follows this advice, something shifts. What once felt rare and valued becomes expected. Stability is no longer seen as strength that's assumed. Affection stops being a gift it's taken for granted. Consistency, the very thing women say they want, becomes background noise, no longer admired, no longer special. Arthur Schopenhauer understood this long before modern psychology tried to put language to it. He didn't look away from truths others were too afraid to confront. He said plainly, relationships are not balanced on fairness or even genuine affection. They are built upon quiet negotiations of power, of leverage, of what is useful. It is not about what you feel, it is about what you're worth. Not who you are, but what you can provide. And he didn't write this with resentment. He wrote it with brutal clarity. Women, he argued, are not malicious. They are not cruel. They are simply calculating by instinct. It is nature that has wired them this way. And unless a man learns to see this reality, he will live in confusion. He will keep asking himself, what did I do wrong? He will replay every moment, convinced the fault lies in him. When in truth, the ending was never about his failure. It was about his usefulness. He fulfilled his role, and once that role was no longer needed, the illusion collapsed. This is not a message to breed anger. It is a message meant to awaken. Because the man who sees reality clearly, no matter how painful it may be, is far stronger than the one who clings to lies. Schopenhauer never promised comfort. He promised clarity, and clarity begins with recognizing how and why men are being used. Every interaction between a man and a woman, no matter how lighthearted it looks on the surface, carries a cost. A smile, a laugh, a shared moment beneath it all. There is a transaction. It is not about romance or connection. It is about value, measured, weighed, calculated in silence. A man believes he is building intimacy, that every gesture, every sacrifice, every effort is constructing a foundation for the future. But what he is actually doing is paying with his time, paying with his attention, paying with his protection, his effort, his status. And the tragedy is that these aren't seen as gifts by her. They are seen as the minimum, the price of admission, the baseline requirement for being in her orbit. And when he stops paying, whether because he's tired, distracted, or simply human, the balance changes. She begins to reassess. Instinct takes over. The illusion starts to crack. Schopenhauer recognized it. What looks like love often reveals itself as strategy. Not always conscious, not always manipulative in the deliberate sense, but instinctual, deeply embedded in biology. Women don't love in the way men hope to be loved. They love what secures them. They love what elevates them. They love what serves them. And when that usefulness fades, their loyalty fades with it. Most men never see it happening. They believe they were chosen for their character, their honesty, their heart. They never realized they were measured by their utiliand, used according to it. This isn't bitterness. It's not cynicism. It is biology. Men give because they believe giving will earn them love. But often, what it earns them is exploitation disguised as affection. To be needed is not the same as being loved. And until a man learns this difference, he will keep giving blindly until he is empty. In today's world, attention itself has become the new currency, and most men don't even realize how easily it's being harvested. Not by force, not by the man, but with glances, with half smiles, with subtle cues designed to draw his focus. She doesn't need to sleep with him. She doesn't even need to like him. His attention alone validates her. It reassures her value in the social marketplace. It confirms her control. As long as he gives it freely, she owes nothing in return. This isn't conscious calculation. It runs deeper. Evolution has shaped it. The women who could attract attention without giving themselves away gained power without risk. And in the modern age of endless screens and infinite connections, that power is magnified. Men are still trained to chase, to prove, to pour energy into women who have no intention of reciprocating. They think they are pursuing, when in reality, they are being drained. Their attention is treated as disposable, abundant. Cheap Schopenhauer never lived to see social media, but he understood the principle. What is given too easily is never respected. A man who scatters his attention across every pretty face will be drained by all of them. But the man who learns to guard his attention, who spends it like it matters, is the one who regains his strength. Now, consider vulnerability. Men are told that the highest form of intimacy is to open up, to express, to show every fear, every doubt. They are told women want emotional depth, honesty, raw truth, and so they try. They remove the armor. They reveal themselves fully, and slowly, something changes in her eyes. Not instantly, not cruelly, but unmistakably. Admiration dulls, attraction fades, respect begins to erode. What once looked like strength now looks like fragility, not because she despises his vulnerability, but because her nature does. Women are wired to seek protection, not confession. They search for men who can hold the weight, not men who crumble under it. Vulnerability may sound noble, but in practice, it disrupts the primal dynamic. It asks her to be the anchor when she was seeking one herself. This is the paradox every man faces. If he hides his pain, he's called distant. If he reveals it, he's seen as weak. Either way, he loses unless he understands the game. Strength, Schopenhauer argued, isn't about loud displays. It's about control, not control over others, but mastery over himself. A man who governs his own silence, not from fear but from discipline, becomes dependable without dependence, open but not spilling, present but never begging. And here lies another illusion. Men believe they are the ones who choose women, that their pursuit, their desire, their efforts are the starting point. But the truth is more unsettling. The choice was never theirs. From the moment she enters the room, she has already chosen, not with words, but with signals. A glance too long, a perfectly timed smile, a posture that opens just enough. She lays the trap before he even realizes he's interested. He thinks he's making the first move, but in reality, he's reacting. She already gave the green light. She already designed the scenario. What he calls chemistry or fate is simply design. He thinks he's leading, but he's dancing to her music. And the deeper he falls, the more certain he becomes that he's in control, when in fact he is only following a script written long before he stepped on stage. This isn't manipulation in the conscious sense. It is older, instinctual, the quiet power of selection without pursuit. And by the time he realizes, it's too late. In the modern age, where attention is the most valuable currency, women have mastered how to extract it in tiny doses. A like, a laugh, a subtle compliment, just enough to keep him circling, never enough to let him land. Beauty becomes capital. It doesn't need to do anything. It simply exists. And men spend endlessly for a time energy, sometimes their future. The more they pay, the more valuable it becomes. This is not seduction. It's economics. Attention flows to the most desirable, not necessarily the most deserving. Men throw themselves at the game thinking persistence will earn them victory. But most are not moving forward, they are running in circles. Men are taught that power carries weight, that to lead means to bear responsibility. Women, Schopenhauer argued, wield a power of a different kind. It's not tied to accountability. It's elusive, emotional, and rarely named. Male power is direct, and so it is feared. Female power is subtle, and so it escapes scrutiny. A whisper can redirect a decision. A tear can silence an argument. A retreat into victimhood can shield her from blame even when she set the fire herself. Not out of malice, but because that is how influence works when disguised as weakness. Men expect power to look bold, overt, commanding. Schopenhauer saw otherwise. He saw that weakness itself, when rewarded, becomes a strategy. Helplessness becomes leverage. Fragility becomes a form of control. And men rarely notice, because they are still looking for power in the shapes they understand. At the root of it all, Schopenhauer said, lies will, the endless hunger that drives every desire. For men, it manifests as ambition, conquest, legacy. For women, it manifests differently, the craving for affirmation, not truth, not legacy, but reflection. To be seen, to be noticed, to be confirmed through the eyes of others. From childhood, a girl learns that approval is her currency. Compliments, glances, smiles, these become her measure of worth. And because validation is fleeting, she must chase it endlessly. She must perform for it, live for it, breathe for it. Silence becomes terrifying. Indifference becomes erasure. Men seek monuments. Women seek mirrors. One wants to be remembered. The other wants to be noticed. Both are trapped by their nature. Men often sacrifice themselves for ideals, for nations, for gods. Their destruction is loud, visible, remembered. Women sacrifice differently. They sacrifice truth itself, not for ideals, but for leverage, for stability, for survival. A smile instead of honesty, a silence instead of confrontation, a nod instead of resistance. Schopenhauer did not admire this, but he acknowledged its brutal efficiency. Men cling to principles, even when they destroy them. Women let go of principles the moment they cease to serve. One destroys himself, chasing dreams. The other survives by abandoning them. And so, the final truth. Schopenhauer did not see men and women as puzzle pieces, destined to complete each other. He saw them as antagonists, locked in quiet conflict, drawn together by nature, but forever at odds in purpose. What looks like harmony is only a truce. What looks like love is often necessity. Men want freedom, expansion, legacy. Women want security, control, presence. These goals collide, not align, and what holds them together is not romance, but biology. A man gives up his mission to serve her and grows resentful. A woman gives up her needs to support him and grows neglected. Both feel used, cheated, yet both return again and again, not out of peace, but because nature demands it. Harmony was never the point. Nature does not care about peace. It cares only about function. And once you see that truth, you can no longer pretend. Men and women are not destined halves of one soul. They are rivals, bound by biology, united only when it serves survival. The war never ends. It only changes form.